The cameras were rolling when Kody Brown's anger finally boiled over, and what happened next left viewers stunned. His words cut sharp, his body language turned volatile, and the set that was supposed to showcase a family story suddenly felt unsafe. Producers didn't just capture drama for the screen, they were forced to shield the very people this show was built around. The wives looked shaken, the kids were nearby, and TLC had to step in. For a family already cracking under years of strain, these meltdowns weren't just embarrassing moments, they were warnings that something inside the Brown household had reached a breaking point. Hi friends, I'm Sarah, and this is TLC's Sister Wives Daily. I'm so glad you're here. If you love honest commentary about this show and want to see the truth laid bare, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. And you guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did you feel uneasy watching those outbursts, or do you think TLC handled it right? In this video, I'll walk you through the on-set breakdowns we actually saw. No rumors, no speculation, just what the cameras showed us and what official recaps confirmed. We'll trace the footage, the previews, the confessional moments, and the visible reactions from the wives. Christine's measured distance, Janelle's sharp clarity, Meri's quiet withdrawal, and Robyn's attempts to hold on. Stick with me, because we're going to follow the timeline of those meltdowns step by step. We'll look at how the wives reacted, what production did in response, and how the children were caught in the middle of chaos that no one could keep behind the scenes anymore. This isn't just about Kody losing his temper, it's about the ripple effects across the entire family. From the very beginning, Sister Wives set itself apart by showing viewers a family bound together by polygamy. Kody Brown stood at the center with 4 wives, Meri, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn, and together they raised more than a dozen children under one sprawling but fragile vision of unity. For years the show leaned on the idea of family cooperation, but cracks were always visible. Episodes showed jealousy, competition for time and resources, and different visions of what marriage and partnership should look like. What once appeared as an experiment in shared love slowly revealed the pressure points of loyalty, sacrifice, and control. By the time the later seasons aired, those tensions had boiled over. Christine made her feelings plain on camera, saying she could no longer accept being sidelined in favor of Robyn. Viewers watched her walk away, not in secret but openly, as cameras documented her packing and her goodbye. Janelle, once steady and pragmatic, found herself clashing with Kody over the pandemic, household rules, and the treatment of their adult children. Meri lingered in the shadows of her marriage, often appearing as if she had already been emotionally dismissed, while Robyn continued to defend Kody's authority even as the rest of the family fractured. Each season leaned heavier into confessionals where the wives admitted they no longer felt safe or respected in the structure they had built. Episode after episode showed the build-up. Heated arguments played out in living rooms and backyards. Tell-all specials captured the wives refusing to cover for Kody's behavior. In one reunion, Kody's voice rose, his frustration spilling out, and it was clear even to the hosts that these weren't just ordinary marital spats. These were long-festering conflicts erupting in real time. The show stopped feeling like a controlled narrative about plural marriage and started feeling like a chronicle of collapse. All of that led directly to the moments when the cameras caught Kody snapping. What had been hinted at in confessionals and tell-all tension was now undeniable. Viewers weren't just told about his volatility, they saw it raw and unedited, forcing TLC and producers to reconsider how far they could push a family already stretched to its breaking point. The first real flashpoint came in a season preview that TLC released ahead of the episode. On camera, Kody was seen raising his voice not just at the wives but at the crew itself, pacing with his hands cutting through the air. His tone was clipped, his face red, and the moment didn't feel staged, it felt like an eruption. The preview framed it as a glimpse of the season's central conflict, but the rawness was unmistakable. This wasn't a confessional rant, it was a man losing composure while the cameras kept rolling. When the full episode aired, that same scene unfolded in front of Christine and Janelle. Kody lashed out about loyalty and respect, his words heavy with blame. Christine sat back in her chair, arms folded, her silence saying more than any outburst could. Janelle, visibly frustrated, tried to answer but soon shook her head, giving up the floor rather than escalate. The wives didn't meet his anger with equal fire, they withdrew, letting the cameras capture their exhaustion. The crew didn't intervene directly, but you could feel the shift. The framing tightened, voices lowered, and the scene cut sooner than fans expected, suggesting a decision was made in the moment to keep things contained. Later episodes showed more. In one heated family discussion, Kody slammed the table, his words spilling out about betrayal. Robyn, sitting closest to him, looked down and away, while Meri's face stiffened as if she had long rehearsed this type of reaction. These weren't isolated incidents, the pattern grew clearer each week. Rising volume, escalating gestures, wives shrinking back or walking away, producers leaving the cameras on just long enough to show tension without letting the situation spiral uncontrolled on screen. The tell-alls reinforced what the previews and episodes hinted at. In those reunion chairs, Kody again snapped, pointing fingers, his voice cracking under strain. The host leaned forward, almost bracing, while the wives either pushed back or disengaged completely. These were direct on-air moments, not speculation, not rumor. They became part of the record of sister wives, visible proof that the meltdowns had crossed from private quarrels into the public eye of reality TV. On camera, the wives each carried the weight of Kody's meltdowns in their own way. Christine often met his outbursts with silence, her arms crossed, her expression closing off until it was clear she had checked out emotionally. In her confessionals, she admitted she no longer felt valued, and the distance between her and Kody only widened. Janelle, who had been the most pragmatic, pushed back a few times during the tense family conversations, but when his voice grew louder, she often cut herself short, letting her frustration show through sharp sighs and clipped answers. Meri, who had already endured years of emotional neglect, seemed to retreat even further, her eyes downward, her voice rarely entering the chaos. Robyn tried to mediate, but her tears and defenses of Kody only deepened the divide, leaving her isolated as the other wives drifted away from the dynamic altogether. The kids weren't spared either. In episodes where older children confronted their father about his strict pandemic rules or about the way he treated their mothers, their discomfort was plain. Gabriel and Garrison openly pushed back, and the tension was raw. Viewers saw Gabriel in tears during one conversation, feeling abandoned by his dad. These weren't abstract storylines, the show itself chose to air these moments, and fans witnessed how deeply Kody's volatility rippled into the next generation. Even younger children, though less vocal, were often shown hovering on the edge of family discussions, their faces uneasy as raised voices filled the room. Production choices made it clear there were times when lines had to be drawn. Scenes cut abruptly, or shifted into confessionals where the wives explained the fallout rather than allowing the escalation to keep playing out on camera. That kind of editing speaks volumes. When a network trims heated moments, it usually signals the atmosphere behind the scenes was even more tense than what viewers got to see. I'll be honest, as someone watching, I felt my chest tighten during those outbursts. Seeing a parent lose control while kids sit nearby doesn't just make for uncomfortable television, it makes you want to reach through the screen and shield them. That's when you realize this isn't only about family drama, it's about protecting people who never asked for the spotlight from the kind of storm that no child or spouse should have to weather. These meltdowns matter because they go far beyond a headline or a viral clip. They reveal the power struggle at the heart of sister wives, one man trying to maintain control as the foundation of his authority crumbles in front of the cameras. Reality television usually thrives on drama, but what we witnessed with Kody wasn't just drama, it was the collapse of a carefully curated public image. The show forced private fractures into the open, and viewers saw how the same intensity that once held the family together had turned into a weapon that pushed them apart. Looking back at earlier seasons, the contrast is striking. Meri, once the first wife who carried herself with visible pride in her role, eventually withdrew into near silence. On screen, she sat through Kody's outbursts with a fixed expression, rarely engaging, as if she had learned that any resistance was pointless. Janelle, often the voice of practicality, once argued directly with Kody about finances and logistics, but in the newer footage, her confrontations were shorter, sharper, and often ended with her simply walking away. Christine was different. Earlier episodes showed her trying to smooth things over, but by the time the meltdowns hit their peak, she refused to cushion Kody's anger. She voiced her disillusion openly and ultimately chose to leave. Robyn, meanwhile, became the lone defender. Her tears and words of support for Kody showed loyalty, but also isolated her, since the other wives no longer shared her willingness to shield him. Other reality shows have faced similar moments when conflict between cast members crossed into volatile territory. Viewers have seen producers step in on franchises like The Real Housewives to stop fights or separate cast members. But Sister Wives was different. The conflict wasn't between peers, it was within a family, with children present, and the cameras kept rolling even as lines blurred between documenting and protecting. That makes Kody's meltdowns a turning point not just for his household, but for the way the show itself had to reckon with the cost of exposing such personal breakdowns to the public eye. On screen, TLC made very deliberate choices about what to show and what to cut. Viewers noticed how certain meltdowns appeared in previews, but not in full context during the actual episodes. Some tense interactions were teased in promos to build anticipation, yet later edited down or reframed when they aired. That alone suggests producers were weighing what to include, balancing drama with the risk of exposing too much raw volatility. At the same time, the series aired extended look-back segments that didn't shy away from replaying past fights and emotional confrontations, proving that the network was willing to lean on those moments to frame the family's unraveling as a central narrative. There have also been reports, though not shown directly on camera, that production sometimes asked the Browns to separate during filming when arguments escalated. Other accounts say certain conversations were repeated or restaged in calmer tones, a choice that both preserved the storyline and contained the blow-ups from spilling further. While these details come from reporting outside the episodes, they give context to the delicate line TLC was walking, capturing conflict without crossing into unsafe territory. The ethical questions are unavoidable. By continuing to film Kody's outbursts with wives and children present, the show put family members under extraordinary pressure while audiences watched. When children appeared on screen during tense moments, whether shifting uncomfortably in the background or being mentioned in confessionals, the responsibility of production came sharply into focus. Should a network prioritize the drama that drives ratings, or step back to protect vulnerable participants? In the end, TLC's decisions highlight the uneasy role of reality TV producers as both storytellers and gatekeepers. Their edits and choices didn't just shape how the public perceived the Browns, they shaped the conditions under which the Browns themselves lived their lives on camera. That dual responsibility, entertainment versus duty of care, is what makes these production choices so consequential. In the end, what lingers isn't just Kody's raised voice or the tension between the wives, it's the children caught in the middle, silently absorbing every word and every glare. These moments weren't fiction, they were real-time glimpses into a family falling apart, preserved forever on film. And while the show framed it as entertainment, those kids were living it day after day. For Christine, Janelle, Meri, and even Robyn, the choice to either confront, retreat, or defend left lasting marks. But for the children, there was no choice. They were simply there, witnessing the collapse of their family under the bright lights of a television set. That's why the voices of truth tellers on this show matter so much. Every time Christine looked straight into the camera and admitted her pain, or Janelle said she couldn't take the anger anymore, those words cut through the noise. They gave viewers something real, something raw, and something worth remembering. Sister Wives has always been about more than polygamy, it's been about the struggle to balance love, loyalty, and freedom in front of millions. And now, as the cracks widen, the only way forward is through honesty, accountability, and the hope that the kids will one day be shielded from the hardest parts of this story. So friends, let's talk about it. Who do you think should be held accountable for what we saw on screen? Kody, Robyn, TLC, or all of the above? Or was there a particular scene that stayed with you because it crossed a line? I want to hear your thoughts. Please keep it respectful, but don't hold back if you felt concerned watching those moments unfold. If you found this breakdown meaningful, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and share it with others who care about these families as much as we do. Your voices in the comments help shape how we all remember these episodes. Until next time, friends, this is Sarah and you've been watching TLC Sister Wives Daily.